my wife and my friends and band members, they say I'm like blissfully ignorant to my cult status or something, or you know, that thing or whatever. But I honestly, man, like, I thought nobody would really care if I came back to music. It was just going to be a fun whatever thing, and I posted on the internet that I was doing it, and it just went like nuts. And then we put out our first song, and that went nuts. And then all these people were hitting us up for opportunities to do things, and just, it's been insane. But I never knew that anybody really even cared that I did music before. Like,
hey, what's up, Vox and Hops heads? I'm Matt, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, brought to you by Sound Talent Media and Evergreen Podcasts, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians to talk about their lives, music, and craft beer. I hope you've been having a glorious week so far. Today is the first day of February, and that means that we have now officially entered Vox and Hops Sober February 2022, which is proudly presented by Pitch Black North, the Satanic Tea Company. I am beyond stoked to have Pitch Black North as the presenting sponsor of Vox and Hops Sober February 2022. If you're not aware as to who Pitch Black North is, well, let me tell you a little bit about them right now. Pitch Black North is the most sinful, the best satanic tea company in existence. All of their teas are ethically sourced, expertly crafted, and they are made in small batches. You can head on over to their website, pitchblacknorth.com. That's pitchblacknorth.com. That's pitchblacknorth.com, and you can check out some of their amazing products that they have up there right now, such as the Cryptopsy, Nun So Vile, the Lavender Black Tea with hops, as well as their Antichrist pumpkin spiced chai and their Throat of Lucifer, just to name a few. When you are checking out, you can use the promo code VOXHOPS15, that's VOXHOPS15, and you will save 15% off of your entire purchase. I'm beyond stoked to have Pitch Black North, the Satanic Tea Company, as the main sponsor of Vox and Hops Sober February 2022. This Vox and Hops episode is presented by Heavy Montreal. Heavy Montreal is Montreal's premier metal promoter. They put on a bunch of sick shows all year long, but more than that, they also put on one of North America's best metal festivals. Trust me when I say this, I have played gigs all across the globe, and Heavy Montreal are by far one of the best promoters out there. I am beyond stoked to have them behind the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast. Now, before we jump into today's episode, I'd just like to ask you to follow the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast on the podcast platform of your choice. But more than that, I'm also asking you to tell a friend about the podcast. If there's someone in your life that is sober, someone that does not partake in craft beer, someone that may be straight edge, someone that never drank a beer in their life, well, you can tell them that the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast exists, and you can tell them that I am doing a whole month of sober episodes. By you encouraging one of your friends to become a future Vox and Hops head, that would be something that I would truly appreciate. Now, today on the podcast, I am with Ricky Hoover of Sulfur. Get ready, everyone. This is Vox and Hops, episode number 321.
I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Today I'm with Ricky Hoover of Sulfur. How are you doing, Ricky? It's great to catch up with you finally. Bradley Zorgdrager has been trying to put us in a room together for quite some time, and I'm very, very happy that he did.
I'm fantastic. Yeah, man, I'm pumped to be on.
Very, very stoked to have you. I typically always start my podcast in the same way, and I ask about how you coped with your time away from the stage, but you're a little bit different. So I'm not going to ask that question. I'm going to go straight to question number 2, which would be, I would love to hear about the soundtrack of your youth when you were growing up in your parents' or guardians' house. What music was playing when you were not in control of the music?
Oh, man.
What music did your parents or guardians listen to?
I had a plethora of music. So my dad was primarily classic rock. And then my grandma would watch us during the daytime. So that would consist of like oldies and Motown and stuff like that. And then my older cousins were into like some of the new metal type stuff. So, and then whenever I'd go anywhere with my mom, we'd listen to like 80s pop. So I pretty much listened to like everything, with a little bit of country and everything too. So
See, it's good to be exposed to so many things early on. Just
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
not being pigeonholed and thinking that this is the only music that exists.
Oh yeah.
And then also not having the choice to listen to the whole thing. As of now, nowadays kids, I feel like they have such a variety and they can escape. But back in the day, there was that music, and that was the music that we had to listen to because there was nothing
Oh,
else that
yeah.
we could escape to, really.
Oh yeah, like my aunt, whenever she would watch me, we would listen to like country or like Wilson Phillips. Like, so I got a lot of crap for that, but I actually liked Wilson Phillips too for a long time. So it's pretty funny.
I love how that happens. How about the first band that you really fell in love with? Something that didn't come from a family member, didn't come from someone around, a band that you brought into the house.
First band that I really fell in love with, probably like TSOL.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to a lot of punk. I kind of found punk myself, I guess you could say. Nobody really introduced me to that other than like maybe some other kids at school back then, but I'd probably say like I used to listen to TSOL a lot, or like Adolescence. I was a real big Adolescence fan. Plus, I'm from Fullerton, so that's a lot of that stuff came from Fullerton, and Orange.
How did your family react to that vibe coming into the house?
My dad was never super into it. Now, because it was the same with like metal and whatnot, but like now if I go anywhere with my parents and I'm driving, I put it on and, or my dad will talk about different vocals. It's pretty funny. Yeah.
That's amazing. See, it's full circle. Now they have to put up with what you're listening to.
Yeah.
I love that. I want to hear about your first shows, the first live music experience that you went to go witness. Do you remember the first show that you went to go see?
First show would probably be going and seeing my uncle's country western band. I used to see them play all the time when I was like super young. Like, I don't even remember how old I was. It was really, really young. But the first, I guess like the first show I went to that I can, I was older, I guess I was like 12 or 13. I went and saw REO Speedwagon, Styx, and the Scorpions.
Shit. Yes.
Yeah.
That was your dad, right? That one I can.
Huh?
The classic rock father brought you to that one.
Oh, that was my that was a family friend. Him and his wife were musicians, and they were friends with my uncle and my aunt, and they had a daughter that was my age as well. So they offered to take me to go see them, and I loved the Scorpions. I still love the Scorpions. So and Styx. So yeah.
You can't get away from it. It's just the winds of change. It's too goddamn catchy. You can't get away from it. I remember
REO Speedwagon was really good too.
Hell yeah. I remember waking up and turning on a little TV in my house. This is in the 90s. And for some reason they were playing a music video. I didn't have like cable or anything. It was antenna, whatever.
Oh, same here, man. Yeah.
And I only got cable and satellite way later in my life. And for some reason it was like 6 o'clock in the morning and they were playing Winds of Change, the video, on CBC. And I don't know why, but damn that it ever hit me. Vox&Hops is typically all about hanging out with my metal friends, talking about their lives, music, and craft beer. But this is a sober February episode because you're straight edge and you don't partake in alcohol whatsoever, or drugs or anything like that. Because then we're definitely going to dance into that later. But I don't know if you have something that you're going to drink on your side, something that you like.
I wish I would have known. I for some reason I spaced. But I have some Powerade.
Perfect.
That works.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. On my side, I'm going to be drinking something very cool. This is Pitch Black North's collab they dropped for Cryptopsy. It is the Lavender Black Tea with hops. Absolutely love Pitch Black North, the Satanic Tea Company out of Calgary. Dominic, the guy that runs it, is just super, super sick. I
have a bunch of that downstairs, actually. I wish I would have remembered and made it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he sent me a care package. I love it.
Yeah, he's so cool. I love his socials, and I love the product's really, really good. So this is a Lavender Black Tea, and there's actually like hunks of hops in the tea because he made it for Cryptopsy, and we actually had a beer that had this tea in it, and it was a super cool collab.
No shit.
with New Level
That's
Brewing,
awesome.
also out of Calgary. So I'm enjoying that. Cheers to you with
Right
your
on.
Powerade.
Oh,
And
yeah, there you go. Damn it! I wish I wish I would have made some tea. Oh, today's been a day, man.
There's no stress. We're going to touch everything, and go over everything that we need to go over. Just no stress. Let's jump straight into of Sulfur. I typically ask this. You're a person that makes me ask my questions in a different order, and I like that. I always ask how people have been filling the void of not performing because of the pandemic. Yet you come from a different aspect because you didn't perform for a very long time after leaving Suffokate, and here you are now with a new project. So how did you fill the void of performing, being on stage, getting that reciprocal energy that we typically get from a crowd?
I mean, well, when I left music, right, 10 years ago, I became a barber. I just delved into barbering and built this career in it and whatnot, and had kids, and had to move to a different state, and then got married, and all this crazy stuff. And then the pandemic happened, and I couldn't work, and I'm very, if I'm not doing something creative, or if I'm not creating in anything, basically, I get very complacent. So I originally just wanted to like jam with people, and I never in a million years thought it would turn into what it's turned into. I guess I didn't know the effect I had on people back in the day, from what my bandmates are telling me. Because I always thought we were like small fish, in a big pond, basically, and because I always wanted to get to like the next level, and apparently I was wrong, because this is it's been insane. So coming back to it has been very overwhelming. I'll say that. It's been very overwhelming.
I like how similar it is to Lord Worm's story when he left after recording Nun So Vile, and he came back to the band after 2-3 albums came out that he wasn't a part of. He didn't know that the band was popular and that Nun So Vile was a cult album. So that's very interesting that you always wanted to get to the next level, because as artists we're never satisfied. And you left Suffokate, and then here you are, that there's all the accolades and everyone freaking out about the hype around Ricky.
Crazy. It's crazy, dude. It's very, my wife, and it's funny talking about it because you feel like you're not being what it is, but like my wife and my friends and band members, they say I'm what's the word, or I'm like blissfully ignorant to my cult status or something, or that thing or whatever. But I honestly, man, like, I thought nobody would really care if I came back to music. It was just going to be a fun whatever thing, and I posted on the internet that I was doing it, and it just went like nuts.
That's amazing.
And then we put out our first song, and that went nuts. And then all these people were hitting us up for opportunities to do things, and just, it's been insane. But I never knew that anybody really even cared that I did music before. Like, I've had people come up to me and be like, yo, check out my tattoo, and it's my lyrics.
Wow.
Or
yeah.
It's insane. Or I just signed a guy and his girlfriend's arm and leg, my signature, and they got him tattooed later that night and sent me photos.
That's crazy.
My signature.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then the second album I did with Suffokate was called Return to Despair, and that whole album was about killing myself. That's all the lyrics were about. I was in a very dark place, and I've had people come up to me and literally hug me, and for like minutes and minutes and minutes, crying in my arms, telling me that I saved their life with that album. It's the craziest thing. I had no idea.
So you left and you just went totally into a bubble away from music.
Yes, I left metal completely. Which
means you also must have cut ties with a lot of friends that you've made along the way, for you to be so oblivious to the fact that you have the cult status, as you mentioned there.
Yeah, just
because if my boy wasn't super hype, I would be like, dude, you're super hype. Why the fuck are you doing music?
I would have people on Instagram, because somehow I kind of, and I don't have this crazy Instagram following in the aspect of it, but I mean, I have I think now it's like 35 or 36,000 or something. Yeah, yeah. But that wasn't really from doing music. It was from just barbering and being like a whatever person for what I thought. But I would have people comment on my stuff being like, dude, come back to music, please come back to music. When are you coming back? And I'd be like, I'm never going to do it again. Never, you know? And,
what made you, why did you have to leave? Because I know for myself, like music is so important. It's a part of my identity.
you know, so I was in, shit, man. I was in so many local bands for so many years that just, you know, members wouldn't want to do stuff or this and that. And then I see on MySpace, right, Suffokate's looking for a singer. And I remembered Suffokate, and I was a fan, but I kind of lost touch with them. But I hit them up. I sent them a recording of my voice. Terrible recording, terrible. But they got the gist, and they're like, yeah, if you want to come up and try out. So I drove up that night, 8 hours, got there at 3 or 4 in the morning, tried out. And from then on, for the next 4 years or so, it was literally nonstop, never slow down. You know, I mean, little breaks in between, barely. But for the most part, music was my entire everything life. And I got so burnt out on it. Plus, me and the bandmates, we weren't getting along. I was very immature in my dealing with aggressive and difficult things. So I was always quick to violence. I would always get in people's faces and be quick to that. And, you know, through the years later, realizing and working on myself, I realized how you can't be like that. But it was just so much. And I hated living like that. And I've seen a lot of people in these bands, they go on stage, and I'm not throwing shade on anybody, right? But they go on stage and they have this attitude and this aura about them. They say these things, but then off stage, that's not them at all.
That's true. That's like 60-70% of the people,
you know, and these people acting like they're this, whatever, blah, blah. But for me back then, I didn't know, and I still don't know how to do it, really. I can't be two different people. I've never been able to do that. But then I literally lived how I was on stage, and I lived how I was in my music, and it wasn't healthy. It was just tearing me down. And there were times where I tried to kill myself when the band was doing the best it's done. And there were times where, like, I daydreamed about walking into traffic and just,
wow,
it was nuts, man. And I was,
did it have to do with the pressure of not?
It was a lot of that, and it was just inner turmoil in the band, you know.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you're living, quote, the dream, but nobody really realizes what it's like unless they do it. And that is not an easy lifestyle, man. It's not like Motley Crue in the 80s and 90s and whatever. It's not that. This shit is grinding. It's hard. It's, you know, you lose relationships with people. You even lose sight of yourself a lot of the times too, you know. So it got to be way too much, and I needed to step away. So
step away, you start Requiem, which I want to talk about at a later point. You get married, you got kids, pandemic, and then you're like, I want to jam. That thought comes to you. Had you done any vocals? You did the Mitch thing.
So I did the Mitch thing, and then, which was, I can't even put it into words, just the amount of emotions and feelings. It was good and bad. It was all that stuff, right? It was crazy, but it's still hard to talk about it. But you know, I did, me and my friends I did like a little like Touche Amore type of thing, a lot of speed type of thing with my friend, and we recorded three songs, never put it out, never did anything with it.
It was just for you.
Just pretty much. And I thought maybe, but then we ended up just not doing it. And then pandemic hit, and I was going to start doing YouTube videos just for fun. I ended up trying to learn how to do all that, and then work started again, so I wasn't able to. But it was crazy though, because I posted a thing on the internet about that, and literally all of the fans of mine, right, they all PayPal'd me and Venmo'd me and money to be able to buy a setup to do podcasts, computer, everything. They all sent me money in to be able to do it. It was the craziest thing. So I tried to start getting that going, but with having to work and, you know, pay my rent and car payments and this and that, I just couldn't do it. But then, you know, I started to hear all these new bands, and I was like, dude, these vocals are like the ones I've always wanted to do, but Suffokate never really wanted me to do these types of vocals because we weren't that type of band. And, you know, but now everybody can do all these kinds of vocals and everything's
It's like
mixing.
expected. It's expected of us now.
It's crazy. You can, well, it's like, you don't have to be, you don't have to stay in your lane anymore with metal.
Mhm.
It's crazy. But so I started messing around and getting back those vocals that I used to do prior to Suffokate. I used to be into like gore grind music and just gnarly gurgles and gutturals. That was my shit. And, you know, as well as hardcore. And I recorded a Tiger King cover with a friend of mine. Yeah. I saw a tiger, and we even put a video up on YouTube where it's him and I'm Joe Dirt. I had a mullet wig. We're carrying guns. I was picking him up like he was, I forget the guy's name now with the missing teeth. We made a whole funny video about it, but it didn't really do, you know, I ended up accidentally deleting it, which really sucks because I edited and did everything myself. The video, not the audio. But so that was pretty much all the vocals I've done since recording Behind the Hand of God. And you know, and even since recording Behind the Hand of God with the other songs, I started with a vocal coach, and every song on that EP you hear, and this is kind of what I wanted to do, you hear my vocals progress with every song. So in every song I'm doing different things, and that was kind of like my goal, you know, because I started working with Extreme Metal Vocal Institute.
Are you
my
talking
buddy
about David Benitez, Vox&Hops
I love David.
alumni? Love him to death.
He's one of the best, most genuine, kind people in the world. Like that dude's family. So I started working with him, and he's got me to do stuff I never thought I ever could. Stuff that wasn't even on the EP. You know what I mean? That just vocal sounds. So, you know,
more to come. That's exciting.
Yes. Oh,
very cool.
I can't say too much.
No,
but cool. I'm very excited for the other stuff we start doing.
So Oblivion came out August 6th. You decided to go independent, distributing through Blood Blast, which is a Nuclear Blast's distribution company. Talk to me about going independent. A lot of these newer bands, I'm sorry to say that, younger bands, newer bands, brand new bands, these hype bands, such as yourself and Carcosa is another one comes to mind.
I love Carcosa.
Another one comes to mind is Brand of Sacrifice and a bunch of other ones. There's one that's in my mind that's just not coming. What's that goddamn band?
Shadow of Intent is
Thank you. That's exactly. Shadow of Intent are doing it as well. Talk to me about deciding to do this all independently.
Well, you know, I had a pretty bad experience with labels in my past, so I've been very hesitant. You know, and as soon as we started the band, as soon as I even posted online, I had a couple people from a couple different labels hitting me up, without any music out at all. And I was like, I don't know. I want to see how it goes. You know, blah, blah, blah. Then we got hooked up with Blood Blast. Avocado from Europe wanted to work with us, which is fucking, I love Avocado. Marco, I love the Avocado teams. They're all so rad. So I can't wait till we finally actually get to go do stuff. You know, we've had a couple offers and all that, but just, you know, with the pandemic and everything, it kind of just didn't work out. And other, you know, resurgences of things. But, you know, it's not that I'm opposed to getting with the label. It's just that, you know, the deal has to be beneficial for both parties. It needs to be a partnership. Now, apparently, you know, unbeknownst to me, labels have changed. They've done 180s with the current situation of really not needing them too much anymore. You know, so I guess a lot of them are more willing to work with you on different things. So it's beneficial for that partnership. So it's not that I'm opposed to it. It just has to be a good enough deal. But, you know, once you start getting to be a bigger band and you start getting all these other opportunities, sometimes you need a little bit of a bankroll for certain things. You know, you got to fly to Europe, you got to do this, got to do that. So, you know, I guess it just depends on the situation and what is going on, you know. I mean, if Sulfur would totally get on a label if the deal is what it needs to be. That being said, every band that's able to do it independently is gods in my eyes because it's so much work. You know, I have a full-time career, you know, like I work at my barber shop and, you know, I'm also a dad of 2 children. I have a wife. You know, it's very hard to focus everything into a band when it's independent, when you have so many other things going on. And thankfully, you know, my band members are awesome and, you know, they do a lot, but like, it's, you know, it all depends on how big you want your band to get and how big things you want to do and how much time and opportunity you have, or, you know, or how much you can put into the band yourself, I guess.
It's extremely difficult being independent. Cryptopsy was independent since 2012, and we have just recently signed a deal with someone. But I know exactly what you're talking about. It's everyone has to do a job, and it's
endless.
You know, it's never ending. Luckily, you hooked up with Bradley Zorgdrager. How has it been working with him?
Brad is my king. I love Brad. Brad is in of Sulfur. He's a member of the band, as far as I'm concerned.
I love that.
He, you know, he's our manager. He breaks his back for us, and it's like I tell everybody, he's not just that. He's a member of the band. He's a full-time member of the band. So, you know, I sing Brad's praises to everybody I can. There's just nobody who I've ever met that cares as much for the people that he works with as Bradley does. So he's, you know, we call him King Brad, basically.
I could never actually, even like knowing him and I've had him on the podcast before, I could never imagine him working with a band that he doesn't love.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't think that he would have it in him. He has zero bullshit. He can't bullshit.
Well, you know, he came out and stayed at my house, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I have a bigger place with a guest room and stuff, and that's why we chose this place. And the dude was like, literally, from the moment I went to bed, pretty much, and then when I would get up, he was on his computer working. Like, he does not stop. I'm like, Brad, you gotta relax a little bit, man. He's like, man, I got too much stuff to do, bro. I gotta work. It's almost like that whole I can sleep when I'm dead attitude, you know. But go for him, because, you know, it really shows. And, you know, he's very, very genuine, and he's a very, very good person too. So
something else that brought a lot of attention of Sulfur is obviously having Tim Lambesis on a song. Talk to me about that. You guys are friends. You guys met at the Suicide Silence Mitch Memorial Show. You've been friends. You've kept being friends since then. Talk to me about bringing him on. And were you worried about any of the backlash, considering there's sort of a polarized view on Tim?
You know, like, I met Tim at the Suicide Silence show, and to be honest, man, like, Tim was one of the night, like, at that show, and I'm not going to throw shade on anybody because I don't, you know, do that, but like, Tim was one of the nicest other singers at that show that I've ever met, hands down. And me never meeting him ever before that was just so humble and nice, and just hung out with me and my buddy James. Whereas some other, you know, like, there was a couple other big names there that, you know, I didn't really like. They kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and I haven't been able to listen to them since. I'm not going to go into who they are, but, you know, it is what it is. But Tim was great, man, you know, and then all that stuff happened, and, you know, he showed everybody that he's human, and he made a mistake, and, you know, thankfully it didn't go into fruition, but, you know, and he did what society deemed he needed to do. And, you know, I'm not a perfect person. I'm far from a perfect person. I am not someone who has any place judging anybody else, in my opinion. I don't think we have any position, any right to judge anybody. We don't know situations. We don't know anything. And that's not me validating or saying it's okay of anything that happened. I'm not going to say that at all. But then again, man, I'm an outside point of view. I don't know everything, you know, and even that, man, Tim is the first person to try everything he can to apologize to random people for what he did. He's like, the guy is just, he's family, man. Like, he's not just a friend to me. I love the dude. I love him. So, you know, he's worked really hard to better himself, you know, and that's what he does now. He helps people as his, like, you know, besides music as well. He's got all these degrees and, you know, mental health stuff, and he helps people when they get out, and just, the guy's just like, he should get a freaking humanitarian award, honestly, you know. And we didn't really stay in touch too much until recently. He saw, you know, because he had his stuff going on, I had my stuff going on and whatnot. We only kind of knew each other before, but like, he saw my before and after photo, because, you know, I'm 100 pounds bigger than I used to be. Right. You know, and depression will make you real skinny, like I was back in the day, you know, and I got a wife who cooks very good for me. And so I don't have a problem eating food now and lifting. So he saw my photo and he messaged me on Instagram and he's like, hey man, what's up? You know, it looks like you and I got the same kind of, you know, before and afters. We should get together and get a lift in and maybe do some stuff. And I'm like, yeah, man, like I would love to, you know, like I said, man, I'm not one of those people who holds things against people that had nothing to do with me. So, you know, and so I sent him, we were talking and, you know, whatever. And I sent him a video of me actually singing in my car and has Anodyne C, which is like one of my favorite songs by them. Right. he like wrote back laughing and he's like, man, we should do some music together, you know? And I'm like, yeah, bucket list. Yeah. You know, I grew up, you know, they were one of my favorite bands. He was one of my favorite singers, you know? And, we were talking about it and then I talked to my guys and they're like, what the really? And we sent him a track and he ended up sending some stuff back and he's like, I don't know which one you like better. Here's a few different options. This is this one. They're not, keep in mind, they're rough and, you know, they're kind of crappy or whatever, his words. Showed my dudes. We all listened and we're like, how is this crappy in any way? We could use this right now. So, you know, it's kind of been like a fever dream to even have him on a track with me as well as be such good friends, you know? So I wasn't scared of backlash. You know, people are going to feel the way they're going to feel no matter what you say or do. It's not my job to make anybody think anything, nor do I want to, you know? And like I said, I'm not validating or saying it's okay with what happened because it's not. But at the same time, man, don't we want people to get better? Don't we want to be able to see people improve themselves? You know, everybody preaches all this stuff about being forgiving and this and that and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, if the people who are involved can forgive themselves and each other, everybody else should maybe take a page out of their book and try to, you know, look at it and better themselves by being able to forgive someone.
It's true. But society loves a horror show for some reason. And,
you know, and people are going to call me whatever they want. I don't really care. I don't live for other people. I live for me and the people I care about.
That's beautiful. I love that. Yeah. Something else that you did that was really very, very cool for Sulfur was bath bombs.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. Where did that idea come from? Was it Brad? Well, like, it sounds like a Brad idea.
You know, Brad is a marketing the guy, like, you know, he what do they say? He pisses excellence. Like he wakes up and shit's gold. It's crazy. The stuff he says works, you know. And I think I was talking to someone about it and I had mentioned it in passing or whatever. And then, you know, one day Brad comes as well. And like, he had the same idea, but way better and, or whatever. And we had never spoken about it before either. But when it comes down to it, like marketing of Sulfur ones and making them look the way they were, but that was all Brad, man. Like, and people love it. I haven't seen another band do it. I have, at least in our genre, maybe.
I think it's super sick.
Yeah, all the bands we tour with are just like, damn, we should have thought of that.
It's a great idea.
I was like, we should have trademarked it. Shit.
This is a sober February episode. You being straight edge. I'd love to, if you're open to discussing this. This is a major part of your identity. When did this decision come into play? How long have you been straight edge? Have you always been straight edge? Open up about that if you feel like it.
So, shit, I think I turned straight edge before I could even legally drink, technically. And then, you know, people have their issues with that and concerns, whatever. But I also started drinking very early. You know, I grew up in a family riddled with, you know, substance abuse, alcoholism. I grew up around all of that. So I started early too, you know, and it just, I don't remember how old I was actually, but there's a Christmas party that I don't remember. I ended up getting violent when I was really blackout drunk with someone. Almost did something that could have landed me in like big trouble. Thankfully, my best friend was there to throw me in a room and lock the door, whatever.
Wow.
I said I was blackout drunk. I don't remember it. And I woke up the next morning, felt terrible. Didn't know what I did, which also made me feel even more terrible. And that was kind of like the turning point. So I think I might have been 18 or 19 at that point, or something. I'm 30. I'll be 37. Oh my God. I'll be 37 in March. So it's been a long time, you know? But that being said, I think everybody's first few years of being straight edge or sober or whatever, you have this mindset of where it's like, oh, you know, screw everybody who doesn't believe this way or doesn't do this or that. I call it the the hate edge years, you know, little funny thing.
Is that because you're afraid that you'll be like influenced to not continue what you've decided to do, maybe?
I don't know if it's that as much as it's really weird because and it's not how it's supposed to be, but that straight edge lifestyle and mindset, some people have just notoriously taken it to this crazy, violent, aggressive, hateful, spiteful mindset, and you get roped into that really easy, and it's very, very easy to succumb to that and just grow this like just loathing for people and hate people who do what you don't. I don't necessarily think it's because you fear you might fall back into it, but it's just because you feel like they're beneath you.
Okay.
Which is a very terrible way to be and a very immature way to be. But, you know, it takes a long time for people to kind of, you know, realize some shit and mature and grow up. So
and then make straight edge your own thing as opposed to this group mentality. You turn it into your lifestyle.
Exactly. You know, like, and some people don't agree with me on this or whatever, but like, I don't think anybody should force anybody to do anything in any way, right? It's not everybody else. It's your own life, you know? So I have friends that drink. I would go hang out with them at the bars and just tell the bartender I'm the sober driver. They just give me free sodas all night, you know? And I would go with them and I could be around drunk people and I could have fun with my friends and I would drive them home and know they got home safe and it would be fine. You know, I understand where people who are the only people that are sober in the room get irritated when people are like super drunk and fall over themselves, but you shouldn't be there if you can't handle that. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a them problem. It sounds like it's a you problem and you're putting yourself in that situation, you know? The amount of time that I've been this way now is it's what, almost half my life, maybe even longer. I'm terrible with math, but no, yeah, I would say because I started, I think I had my first sip of alcohol when I was like 12 or 13.
Wow. Okay.
Or maybe 14. I forget exactly, somewhere around that age. But I'd say the majority of my life, I haven't done anything. If you add before that and now, so you know, people will be like, "Man, how do you do that?" You just do. You know, you don't come out of the womb drunk. You know.
No, but there's especially if you're coming from a family that there's massive issues with addiction.
Oh yeah, and growing up and seeing it and seeing the people I love and care about struggle with it daily, because the assumption is if you go to rehab and you get help, you're no longer an alcoholic, which isn't true. You're an alcoholic or a drug addict every day of your life. It's Absolutely. You have to fight every day to do it. And I grew up around all of that. So I've seen it from a different perspective than, you know, a good amount of people have. So I didn't want to fall down that same path.
So you had that blackout experience. Your friend put you in the room. You woke up the next day feeling like shit. And then how quickly did you fall into becoming straight edge?
Oh, well, that was the last time I ever drank, ever. Okay. Never did anything, right? Which I never really did much ever before. I think I smoked weed a few times when I was younger. And one time someone put Coke in it or something and I didn't know. And that was terrible. And that was the last time I did that. That was in like my first year of high school or something or whatever. But I would say, I think I was sober, right? You know, for probably a year or 6 months before I even started saying it or whatever. And even still, like now being it for so long, I don't even really like telling people. I don't really feel the need to label it because, you know, you're it for so long. You're just like, hey man, I'm just Ricky, you know, or I'm just me. I don't need to tell you what I do or don't do. But you know, I probably a year-ish. I mean, if I remember correctly, before I started like claiming it and getting tattooed. I mean, I have like.
That's your first tattoo, right? your first tattoo,
Yeah.
I read, is what? Or was what, sorry.
Oh, yeah. So my first tattoo was a straight edge tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little straight razor on the back of my in the middle of my back and above my shoulders, which is funny because I'm a barber now. And I had 3 X's underneath it, and the artist didn't even finish it. He didn't shade it. It was just an outline, and he ripped me off on it. So it's covered my back piece now because it was done really badly. But yeah, I forget how old I was when I got that. But yeah. So that was my
everything
first
that you're
one
saying.
ever.
Everything that you're saying is just it's you lucked out almost, because all of the anger that you had those years in Suffokate, had you been drinking or using drugs on top of that, dude, it would have been volatile and a fireball just waiting to go off.
Oh man, like even without, I had to go to therapy after Suffokate. Like I went to a lot of therapy, and I've read a lot and done a lot of stuff because of all those issues. So it's like mental health, and that if I would have had that compiled like on, it would have been, I don't even want to know what that would have been like.
It's horrible. So it's a lucky thing that it happened so early to you.
Yeah, man. Very lucky.
What advice or motivation would you have for people that are on the fence about wanting to go sober, wanting to be straight edge? Do you have anything you'd like to say to that?
I would say, do what you want to do and what you feel is best for you. Don't use anybody else's reasons or whatever to try to change your life, because you're living your life. If you have a funner time having a few drinks and whatever, then have a few drinks. Or if you have a problem with it, then try to work on your problem, because it's a problem. But if you don't, then just do you, I guess. Not everybody is meant to live that type of lifestyle, and just like not everybody's meant to, I guess just do what's best for you is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Absolutely. The time has come. Let's talk about being a barber. I love this. You're the first barber I've spoken to on the podcast, and this is awesome.
Oh, nice.
You opened your own barber shop, Requiem. It's in Henderson, Nevada, 16 miles outside of Vegas. I'm impressed because you only work 4 days a week, and you have to book an appointment, because if not, they can't get you. Talk to me about being a barber. Where did this come from? What did this passion stem from?
Oh yeah,
and then building.
So when I was in Suffokate, I would come home and have these maybe a week or two in between, because we toured extensively nonstop, but I would go hang out at the time at a barber shop in LA that I had friends at the time that worked there. And I just had an eye for good haircuts. I have an eye for shape. Men's haircuts are huge with shape. Shape is really big with that. But I had that eye for it. And a friend of mine named Melissa was like, you should go to hair school. You should be a barber. You just have the eye for it. And I feel like you'd be really good at it. And I thought about it for a few months and over a few tours and whatnot. And, I got into it with my drummer, which, I think is pretty widely known knowledge now, because I'm not shy about that. But, we got into a pretty heated argument over the phone. Thankfully, it was over the phone. I was in a bad, violent place at that time. And everybody in the band at that time had a different, side gig, one was a cook, one did farmers markets, one sold drugs. Ironic. Everybody had something else. And me, I was the one that did interviews and talk to people, and I was like the face of the band, and which I got shit for, which is ironic, but I was the only one that wanted to do it. So we got into this fight. Yeah, it's just what happens when you're a singer. We got into this fight, and I told everybody, I was like, you know what, man, like I need something else to do on the side, because you guys all have your thing. I need something. So I was like, I'm gonna go to Barber College. And I've reconciled with everybody in that band except for the drummer, who I had issues with. And I probably won't ever reconcile with him. It's just not really a point to it. So Taylor, the guitar player, who I love dearly, he's all, oh, yeah, totally. How long does school take for it? And I was like, I don't know. I think like 6 months. I had no idea that Barber College takes 1,600 hours.
Okay. Geez,
So,
extensive.
yeah, or 1,500 in some states, 1,600 in others. So, I ended up going to it, and and in that band, the drummer tried to turn everybody against me when we had that issue, which really soured me, as well as all the other stuff I was going through. So I was in Barber College for, I don't know, 2 months, and I sent everybody a text saying, I'm done, I'm out, I quit.
Okay.
I'm going to be a barber, which they claimed that they never got. The drummer got it, though, because he was excited about it, because he wrote back, awesome, or whatever.
Jesus Christ.
It was pretty funny.
Beautiful family relationships on the road.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. But so everybody else claimed that they didn't get the text. They thought because he told them, they learned from him. The label wasn't happy, but it was a big old thing. So I just started going to Barber College. I immersed myself in it. I turned my back on metal and hardcore music. I would still listen to like my mainstay bands, but I stopped trying to discover new bands. I just focused on hair, and I got that school done in 9 months, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I went
Intense.
full time. I went every day. I went day and night. I went weekends, because I just wanted to get it done with and get it over with and do it, and technically you're not allowed to do that, but our school broke a lot of rules, and they ended up losing their accreditation actually after I graduated. Yeah, they were doing a whole bunch of terrible shit.
Which worked out well for you, but
it worked out fine for me, because I got out fast. I did all the schooling. So after that, I worked at a salon in Fullerton. It's a high-end salon, real fancy place. Like Jenna Jameson would go there to do her hair. Wow. And other people.
You had the ears at that point.
Yeah, I had them, but I got them sewn up, I think 6 months into working there.
Okay. 2013, yeah. You got the ears.
Yeah, exactly. So from there, I opened up a shop.
I'm just imagining a fancy place and people coming.
Oh, it was very, yeah. They actually got mad when I didn't wear my plugs because of my droopy ears. So, but when I got them all sewn up, they were like, "Oh my God, this is so much better." And that salon ended up getting run into the ground because the owner didn't manage it very well. So, what's his name? The singer from that band, Lit. Remember that band, Lit?
Yeah, 100%. My own worst enemy.
Yeah, AJ bought the salon.
Really?
And wanted to keep me on, but I didn't like a lot of the things. So I was like, I have my own clientele. I'm just going to go open up a private studio. Wow. So my first actual private studio was in Fullerton, California, where I used to live. And that was called Ricky Hoover Men's Grooming. And, I had that for years and developed this huge clientele. And then my son's mother and I got together and we had a kid. We split up. She moved back to Vegas, where she lives, or where she was from. Then I met my wife, we got married, and we just decided it'd be best to move to Vegas because, my son's here, and making him go back and forth, although he was young and it didn't really bother him too much because we just watch a movie in the car. Eventually we knew we would have to go or do something because, so my wife, who's a saint, I'm very lucky. She was like, let's just move out there. Like, tell her we'll move out. We'll, we'll save up. We'll do whatever. You got to close your shop, but you can rebuild your, you'll be fine. So we got married. A lot of the wedding money that we got from friends and family was used to move out here. And her great grandmother helped us a lot too with like the immigration stuff because she's from Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, got me an Aussie. So so yeah, man, we moved out here. I worked at a shop out here for 2 years, and then I opened up Requiem. And man, it's been like, it's really hard to get in with me. It's insane.
It's just so damn cool. I think it's, part of me is like, why does he want to go back on the road if he's got
Well, that's the thing, man. Like I told my dudes, I was like, originally I didn't want to tour at all. I just wanted to play like big festivals if we could or whatever. Even if we even played, I just wanted to put music out. And like
Brad was like, no, you gotta go.
It's just we started getting all these crazy offers to do things, and I was like, oh man, I can't pass this up. Holy crap! Like, and this other stuff that I can't really talk about is like, we're getting like gnarlier opportunities than Suffokate did. And I'm just like, what the shit? We've been a band for maybe a year now.
It's amazing.
The music has only been out since August, give or take.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we got our streaming numbers and my jaw hit the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Like on Spotify alone, for an album that came, or an EP that came out in August,
Mm-hmm.
we had 626.9 thousand streams.
It's amazing.
It didn't compute, and that's only on Spotify. And then we have all the stuff on YouTube, then like the other streaming services. It's just, it doesn't make sense at all to me. So it's just, they were like, well, we got the software to do this, or we can do this, or this might be fun, we can do it for this little amount of time, so it works with your schedule. So we're not going to do crazy extensive touring, because I can't do that. I have kids, I have a wife, I have a business. So does my bass player. My bass player Matt, he has kids, he's a marketing guy, so he really can't do it either. So, but that doesn't mean we can't do some fun stuff, but yeah, you hear the kids in the background.
I apologize. I'm very used to it. I got 2 young ones as well. What
there
about
you
your
go,
clientele? What about your clientele? Who's a typical client that comes to Requiem to get it? Is it an average people, or is it metalheads? Who comes to get their haircut?
It's everything. It's crazy. I have people come to me that saw me play when they were 12.
Yeah,
that trips me out. I have older gentlemen who would hate my music if they heard it. I have just anybody you could imagine. I have people come to me. I have female clients who like really cool short haircuts that are all texturized. I have, I've had like Chippendales type dancer guys that have come to me for like cleanups and on their beards and their hair. Everybody, man, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's super, super, super sick. So you are the barber. Do you have staff with you there? Other people that also cut?
No,
it's just
so
you.
It's a private studio. So it's one chair. It's just me. It's appointment only, and I don't really allow other people in. Just because that way the experience is just me and that person. Which in my time doing that, my decade or so doing this, I've learned that people appreciate that a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And with COVID and everything else, it was kind of just like the right time to open it, because people want that security, if you will, with your sanitation, and they're not going to be around a bunch of other random people who could have whatever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you do go on tour, it's shut down, and that's just the way that is.
Unfortunately, yeah. Until I can really find someone that I trust to run it when I'm gone, because in a perfect world, I'd like someone to work there the days that I'm not there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to talk bad about the place I live now, but with the exception of a few people, Vegas is a cesspool of just garbage people, man. It's terrible. My wife and I would move away from here if we could.
I understand.
Unfortunately,
but you have to protect your brand and the vision of what you want for Requiem. So
exactly. So I don't want to have someone I don't really trust or know work there and ruin it. Especially because I've built it up. So.
Yeah, and it's you. So it's an extension of yourself.
Exactly.
One last question.
Yeah.
I typically wrap up with something about beer, so we're not going to do that. We're going to talk about what the best part of this pandemic has been for you.
Oh, man.
So much negative. We hear about all the negatives. I like to focus in a little bit on the positive. One positive thing that has happened thanks to...
I had my daughter. So she just turned 2 the day after Christmas this year, so she's 2 now. It brought my wife and I a lot closer. I had the band, I got my shop. So, there's been a bunch of things, unfortunately, a lot of people I know lost everything, but I gained a lot. So, it's been very, I've been very fortunate from the pandemic. So I guess just, I don't know. There's been a lot of good things, the band as well. So.
That's good. That's excellent news. I love to hear that. Ricky, thank you so much for taking the time, hanging out with me, talking about your life, music, and being straight edge for a sober February episode. I really, really appreciate it. Massive, massive thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Excellent chat.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on. Hold on. I'm going to unscrew this so I can cheers you. Cheers.
Hey, thank you all so much for listening right to the end. You know that I love and appreciate that. Man, did I ever have a blast with Ricky. I was very stoked to have a conversation with him. It took some time to actually get this conversation in the bag, but once I did, I was very excited about it. I really had a great time chatting with Ricky. He really had a very interesting and intellectual approach to life, and I really do believe that this was quite the enlightening conversation. There's a bunch of things that he spoke about that really resonated with me afterwards, and I hope that some of these things resonate with you as well. Massive cheers to Ricky. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me, and a huge thanks to Bradley Zorgdrager for helping me set up this interview. Now, if you enjoyed this Vox and Hops episode, you should sign up to the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast mailing list. You can do that on my website, voxandhops.com. That's VOXANDHOPS.com. And when you do that, you shall receive one email a week containing all of the details of everything that has happened throughout the past week in the world of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, including all the details for any episodes which I may have dropped, if I've been a guest on someone else's podcast, as well as a little portrait on the album reviews, which the album review crew have dropped that week. And you'll get the links to the Brutal Awakenings playlist, and you will also see which albums the metal architect, my boy Jerry Monk, has added to the Brutal Awakenings playlist that week. The Brutal Awakenings playlist is packed with the best, newest music every single week. It's available on both Apple Music and Spotify. And trust me, if you're looking for some new music to listen to, well, the Brutal Awakenings playlist is where you want to go. There's just so much going on in the world of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast. I would hate for you to miss a single thing, and the best way to stay updated is to sign up to that mailing list. The Vox and Hops Metal Podcast is brought to you by Sound Talent Media and Evergreen Podcasts. I hope you have a glorious rest of the week. I will be back this Friday with another Vox and Hops Sober February 2022 episode. But until then, remember to enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. Cheers, Vox and Hops heads.